it's just that there's a certain kind of training that's required so that they will have the clarity of thought on what they want in life. Is that what this group is all about?
Actually, what found out after being in the industry for 7 years, we've been trying to get to know more about the educational system, and what's surprising is that the industry that should be the most progressive is the one that won't budge, that won't move. So what we feel like, and this is what we get from the students because we talk to them all the time, we feel like the students are becoming more and more disengaged.
Really?
Because they feel that, like what you mentioned earlier, the subjects are not related to what will happen to me in real life. So why am I really studying this? And I think that question starts to grow as they go on. These become just tasks for them. And they become more interested when we go to their schools to do the training. They become more interested in what will really happen in real life, because that's what they want to know.
When you say it's the progressive part of the educational system, you're talking about what kind exactly? What kind of schools? You don't have to mention schools. What kind of schools?
What the progressives are doing, because there are only a few, and you'll be surprised, there are very few schools who are now seeing the importance of placing academics and the extracurricular part of their education at par with each other. Most are still heavily on ACADS, yes. And that's not wrong. I just think that students right now, because they know a lot, they see a lot, they want to know more than just academics.
It sounds like, one of my professors used to say, he's a pracademic, and basically trying to fuse the progressive with the formal part of education. But given that there are both progressive schools, just like Salad was talking about, and the more traditional schools, how do you now dovetail your life skills work with that curriculum and that experience, so that it's not an add-on, but it really complements what they're learning in school?
Yeah, and I really wanted to know what kind of training is this that will provide that kind of knowledge to the kids?
How do you fasten that onto the program?
All right. Of course, the academics part, the schools won't let us meddle with the academics part, and we respect that. That's good. Our goal is to have something in the school that will at least equip them with career, life advancement skills and leadership skills. So that's where we come in, because we feel like, okay, when we go to school, we discuss all these subjects, but nobody's really paying attention to career. Have we really even defined what career is for them? We only find these out when we graduate, when you're out there, when we're doing stuff, when we're learning. But in school, nobody guides us. What does career mean? How do I advance? What they really need in the workplace? And these are what we try to bring to their level. Of course, in their very basic terms. So I'm sure we found this out when we were starting to work. Okay, I need leadership to if I want to climb the corporate ladder, if I want to start a business, I need leadership. All of these things we only learned when we started working. And so that's what we want to add to the school's curriculum. Of course, there are still who feel that it's foreign to them, but we're glad that it's gaining traction. We're seeing now the schools who are open to the changes that are happening, because it's a unique time in history. It's a unique time in history.
I see a lot of the programs in different schools also focus on that leadership, what kind of skills do you need in life, etc. So what's different with you? Do you actually, like, one of the things that I have 4 kids. Okay, I'll start with that. And the difficulty really is sometimes in my discussions, apart from I see teachers, business people, construction workers, etc. They have no clue what kind of jobs are out there. And how do you prepare for a job that you don't know is out there, right? Is there somewhere in your training something that grounds that down for the kids?
What we're doing is not what we feel like or we tend to do as adults. We tend to tell them what to do.
Okay.
And that's what we try to not do.
Okay.
Because that's what we don't like. When we were their age, we don't like being told what to do, right?
So how do you tell them stuff without telling them?
We do 2 things.
So
actually.
exploration.
We talk to them because they're hungry for people to talk to. You'd be surprised.
It's more constructive in the way you engage them and more informal. Okay.
Yeah. And then second, we give them tools.
Like what?
Tools to find out, okay, if you're good at this and you're interested at this, can you match this with this career? Or if you're good at this, but your grades are this in this area, what do you do? So it's really giving them something that they can use for themselves, and that's why the mission of Team Aguhon is to help students help themselves,
Yeah.
because we know that we won't be there 24/7.
Sure.
But we want to give them something that they can use when that time comes, when they're deciding what can they use. And
So
that's
Brent,
what
when you talk about mindsets and skills and these tools that you mentioned, how do you put a curriculum that doesn't exactly add so much more time to what they're already burdened with in school? How do you make sure it's fun and at the same time there's a good follow-up when you see them next in between those classes?
Okay, first, we have focused on engagement. We have been focused on engagement for the last years that we've existed. We really see to it that because engagement, I think, or we believe, is the job of the educator. So if we don't engage them, they don't learn.
That's right.
So we have been focusing on engagement. We use gamification. We use, of course, we use games as well. So we move around the workshops. We do everything that gets their attention and lets them become, or opens them up to the learning. Because we feel like that is one barrier. They are so used to the classroom system, so we don't do that.
So what's a typical setup like? I mean, when a person comes in and says, wow, this is different, how different is it?
No, wait, just run around in the school and go crazy.
Well, first thing, we don't have rules. We just have agreements with them.
Okay.
And then we introduce. Them. Okay, so this is success and this is me right now. What's the in between?
Yeah.
And actually,
If you really think about it, that's what the school system is supposed to be.
supposed to do. Yeah, it is what the school
That's
system is
something in
supposed.
between.
Yeah, supposed to do. But of course, if you talk to a lot of industry leaders, we know that the gap between what the school is teaching and what
Real
the
life.
real life is requiring, it's too big right now. Then that's what we're trying to address, to be the missing link. And this has come from our partners, that to be that link between what's happening, what will happen in the future, and where they are right now.
Do you see any interest in money, perhaps?
personal
Or
finance,
how does money work? How do I find it? How do I earn it? What do I do with it? How do I make it grow? Is there any interest in that
All
among
the
the youth
time.
now? All the time.
All the time. Only of course they don't have anywhere to go to. I was actually, when I found out that I'll be here, I was actually thinking, okay, why don't we have shows for students? Because they're the ones who are interested, and we have what, more than 25 million students who are going to be in the workforce in the next few years. Why don't we have anything that caters to them?
And you invest that earlier rather than later, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
So what we're trying to, I think what we're doing right now is addressing the problem where it's here, and what we're trying to do is address it before it happens.
Yeah.
Giving them awareness, giving them a picture of what could happen.
Well, give me an example of how you structure that learning on finance. I mean, sometimes it gets pretty hairy when you talk about a subject like that, but at that age, they're quite open and they also have aspirations. How do you tailor that to that kind of student?
We make it simple. We tell them that there are ways of working, and I think that's the simplest that we can go with that. You can be an employee, you can be self-employed, and you can be an entrepreneur. You can start a business. And the interest level, actually, it's interesting because there are more and more students who are getting interested in self-employment and business. It's
Yeah.
just not employment anymore. And this is really creating, I think, a feeling of worry for parents because this is not how we used to do it before.
Yeah.
And my kids want something else.
Sure.
And I think that's also another gap that we want to address because some parents have approached us. We don't understand our kids about finance.
Yeah.
So we keep it simple at this moment. We actually have a program, and schools are not ready for it. Yeah, we're not. Surprisingly, they're not ready for it. We have a finance program that focuses on not
On
just
the
the
kids.
behaviors. We focus on the beliefs because we feel that it's the finance problems of people here are rooted in cultural beliefs.
Ah, that's interesting.